All right, welcome into the Idea Collision. My name is Andrew Green, the host of this podcast. We have been talking about, through a number of these episodes, we've been talking about the emotional effects of a lack of self-worth and where these come from. I want to see, and I want to explore a little bit more where these deficits of emotion originate. And throughout this, we've talked about the previous generation, how that affects us, whether it be the values they've instilled in us, whether it's in a strange way, our opposite reactions that we have to those previous generations and rebellion to them and what we don't like about them, and the different rules that we make for ourselves based on those things. And we've talked about, very recently, activity and productivity and the kind of the lag between these, there's like this disconnect in the feelings that these really instill in us. And we like to feel active, but when we see that we're not really being productive, this is going to create kind of like a negative. And so there's a funny word that we have to talk about accomplishments. We talk about it in terms of our career, and it kind of goes along with that idea that we talked about previously. This word is business. Now, I say, well, we use this word so often, we don't really think about what this word means or implies. And the word is literally busyness, just the idea of being busy, being active, right? And so we use this word to summarize being accomplished and achieving something. Just merely the state of being busy makes us think, well, I'm doing something. So to us, in choosing this word, we see activity as a means of something worthwhile. I'm being worthwhile because I'm busy. I guess that's because if I wasn't busy, I would be obviously, as an inactive person, I would be doing nothing. I would be accomplishing nothing. And in Ecclesiastes 1:13, there's this statement that Solomon makes, and he says he's looking, and the whole book is based on his observations of humanity and what people consider worthwhile. And he says, I looked at the unpleasant task that God has given man to be busy with. And true enough, life has a lot of things that, if we looked at it, really are futile tasks in the long run. But we have to do it in order to procure food and survive for another day. And we consume a lot of time in these things. And so they can seem like time wasters. Now, to be fair to God, we add a lot of things to this list of time wasters that God never gave man to do. And so it's not fair to blame God for all of those things that we call busyness. I talked about, speaking of lists, I talked about my spreadsheets, my love for lists and my lists of lists. And one of those spreadsheets that I have, I never had it previously. It was a list that it became a part of my life when I became a homeowner in 2015 for the first time. And it was the list of projects. I bought a fixer-upper. And by a fixer-upper, my wife jokes that it would have been quicker if I would have torn it down and built it what I wanted. I might be done sooner. So I still have items on that list. I had a list. My list went 2015, 2016, 2017, maybe outside shot 2018. We are way beyond 2018, and I still have items on that list. Now, there's not a lot of items on that list. Now, there's new items on that list that weren't there when we started, because that's the nature of homes. But I have a list of things, and I have these categorized even. I love lists. I have them categorized into big projects, medium projects, little projects, and then quick projects. Quick project is like this outlet needs to be replaced or something like that. It's a 15-minute at tops thing that's including cleanup. Those are quick. Little projects, those are going to be, if I had like a room of outlets. Okay, so I'm going to be in there an hour. Things like that. I have some of those projects to do. Hour, 2 hours. Okay, that's a little thing. I should be able to knock that off and feel good. Medium projects, we're going to be at it a couple of days. I need to do the trim in my house. That's a medium project. I have a big project. I have a couple of them left. I have to dig a fence post and to keep my dog out of the neighbor's yard and stuff like that. That's partially done, and we need to get back to it. And I have a shed I'd like to build, and that's not going to happen this year. I already know that that's off the table. So we're going to yet have another year of projects. All right, those are big ones. I know that those are going to be back-breaking stuff. And right, okay. So these are this is my busyness. I knocked off some of these this week. Some of it I do every year, getting my deck ready so that I can go out and enjoy coffee, and I improve it a little bit. So I put up string lights this year, different ones. I had different ones last year, and these ones are a little bit better. And well, that needed the cable to run on, so that it supports the weight. And then I wanted a tarp, and then this year I wanted like a little more deck privacy, so I put up a little privacy thing and I would like some mosquito netting, and all told, so that I can sit there and enjoy coffee on my deck. I probably spent about 3 or 4 hours just of time assembling this and getting it all up. Right, the cables had to be assembled and everything else. And that's just the actual labor time. Now I spent 7 hours of work, my normal job, earning money to buy the stuff, so that I can sit and enjoy coffee on my deck. Right, so there's a lot of things that God never said, Andrew, you need to enjoy coffee on your deck. So I Ecclesiastes 1:13. I'm not going to blame God for that. That's I put that on the list, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. There are some good things that will come out that we like to spend some family time on the deck at night, reading a book or doing things together. So there will be memories that come out of that, and relaxation is a good thing just to have as a part of your life. So in the long run, maybe it will be worth the total of 10 hours that I invested in that. Well, that's just an example of the busyness we do. That's just one project. We do a lot of things. We have a lot of projects and busyness that probably is actually less. There's things that I do that are less valuable than even that, and that's questionable in terms of its long-term value. And so, but to us, at least there's a at least I have a connection. That's something I'm doing, and that has my children involved in it. But when we think of busyness, and one of the things that I've looked at, and this it boggles my mind, and there's two different categories of people in this, and it has to do with leaving your wealth to children. Now, there are some people that have taken this oath. I forget what the name of this is, but it's the something or other oath, and it's these ultra rich people that have decided not to leave their wealth to their kids. Maybe they've already set them up in business, and they're like, okay, you're not going to fail. You're already rich. From that point on, you're going to have to figure it out yourself. And so I'm going to leave my money to some charity or whatever. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, some of these, right? So at least that's a noble ideal. Okay, so they have some noble thing that they want to do this to, and or because of, and not leave money. But there is a stupidity. There's a level of stupidity that is experienced by some people. I just don't. Maybe some of it's not their choice. I don't know. But to me, if you're rich, you can purchase a family, right? Like you can essentially pick. There's someone that will go out with you and marry you and have kids with you. That you're rich. There's someone's going to sign up for that. And but people who have chosen not to back it up, not just to not leave wealth to somebody, but to not have kids. Period. Giorgio Armani, great suits, perfume, whatever the thing is, and no kids. And he's going to leave billions of dollars to I don't know who. Carl Albrecht, who's that? Well, so if you know Aldi's grocery store or Aldi grocery stores, it's owned by, I think, two brothers. One of them has no kids. Alice Walton, who is now the richest woman, I forget which woman died and left her the richest living woman, but she is one of the bigger heirs of the Walmart fortune. Actually, her nephew is also single, but he's still got time. Alice Walton, not so much. She's not going to have kids. That ship has sailed, and so they're billionaires, and with no hopes of leaving any of it to anybody. And these are people that decided that their business, their career was so important for them to make suits that they didn't ever have a family. It's to me, it's astounding that the things they gave up. And I want to kind of explore this. It was so important for them. What do they do instead? They buy art. They buy horses, and they buy boats, yachts. Oh, they have big yachts. I have a big yacht. And when you're done, you're going to be remembered for your yachts and your suits or whatever. They might do some philanthropy, but you could have done that with a family. I just don't. Their business was so important. They didn't have a family. It's this value system that people have. Business was absolutely important. Being busy. Now, one of the things that I notice is that, when we talk about philanthropy and, we're going to be noticed for that. One of the things I've noticed in this group of people is that some of them, not necessarily all of them, but a lot of the businesses became big, like the multi-generational ones. Take Walmart, for example. Walmart was started by a very religious man. Christian man by the name of Sam Walton. So if you see Sam's Club, that's named after him as well. Sam Walton would roll over in his grave if he saw the things that were in a Walmart store today. These people didn't have family in their mind, so they don't have family values. And so, I walked into a Walmart here a couple months ago, and I wasn't looking for this particular thing. I just kind of happened to notice it was a movie, 50 Shades of Grey. Now, 50 Shades of Grey is essentially, from what I understand, it's basically pornography. And I don't care about the storyline. I don't know what it is. I just know it's not anything a person should see. But what's the important thing? It was business. Someone made a business decision, and that was that this is a popular thing with a certain category of people, and we're going to sell it. And so, well, those were the children. But guess what? The children of Sam Walton are not very religious at all. And so, because they're not very religious, they don't have any importance of family. Money is what their God is. That's important to them. So, a lot of these we see a direct societal problem in people who have valued money and business over deeper spiritual things. Some things are disastrous, though we might not connect it to a disaster right away. They're not like that. They're not overt. In 2018, I was coaching gymnastics at the Y. I don't coach anymore. We hit COVID, and that changed things quite a bit. My son, my second son, was in basketball, also at the Y. And I noticed something in our classes, even before COVID, and it's carried through, and it's kind of followed him. And it was in basketball, it was in gymnastics, and we noticed that in that age group, that son was born in 2009, and so just after the tech bubble and all the housing stuff that went on right around 2007, 2008. So he was born right after that. And in that time frame, right, gymnastics classes and basketball, we had to cut the programs at the Y like almost in half because there weren't kids. In other words, people decided we don't have money, we're not having kids. And so I thought this would be a blip, and maybe it was very, very temporarily. But this has actually become a trend. Now, population is down significantly, so that in many places, the trend is down overall. And this is actually a big problem in the world, and that we're figuring out that this is a problem in the world. Having listened to some of these people who are like, oh, we need to depopulate the earth, and we're now figuring out this is going to make problems for generations. And I'll explain why. But there was a goal and an urgent priority, and that was money, and children were going to and I suppose in a short-term thing like that, you say, you know what, we can't afford that. Okay, fine. But this became a trend, and millennials barely replaced themselves. Millennials, it was right even. Now, you remember the joke, maybe, depending on how so in the 80s we had the joke, the average family had 2.7 kids in a station wagon, and we always wondered, that 0.7 kid, that must have been a hard kid, only have, not even a whole kid. But you have to replace yourself. Here's a family. A family, to produce something, it requires two people, so far as I understand genetics. And so you have to have two people to replace yourself. You have to have two kids come from that just to replace yourself, on average. So we were, as Gen Xers, we were replacing ourselves in a little bit. But now, so the millennials just barely replaced themselves, maybe 2.1, 1.9, something like that per family. But Gen Z, later millennials and Gen Z are not even doing that. Over the last 5 to 6 years, the average family is now having and is quitting after 1.7, and in some countries it's really low. So some, it's like South Korea, I think it's 0.9 children per family. It's like half. That's going to be unsustainable. South Korea is going to have so many problems in 20 years unless that's a short trend. So for whatever reason, and then there's different reasons, and this is a problem is in the reasoning, and I want to get into that in just a second. But our overall world is declining, and this is the problem. That we're going to have people that they're retiring. Baby boomers are hitting retirement. There's not people to support them in their retirement, and they're a big generation. And so all of this weight, they're not making money. They're on fixed incomes and various things. Who's paying for that fixed income? Well, a smaller and smaller number of people are going to be paying for that. So eventually they're going to find that their income is going to be cut. That's almost certainly what's going to happen. Otherwise, we're going to go into a Great Depression. These things are inevitable. So because baby boomers and Gen Xers Gen Xers are right behind them, because we were so focused on busyness, we are going to reap the benefit of those priorities that we instilled in those kids, and other values as well. So the financial concerns. Now, this is the ironic thing about the financial concern of everything, is that go back to the late 1800s when poverty. Right now, people having 1.6 children per their family have never been wealthier on average. When you go back to the late 1800s and you see the poverty and through the Great Depression even, right? We have the baby boom generation and various things like that. That's this very poor generation. Where we're having a large number of kids. the 1800s. Typically, there were like 7 or 8 kids in a family, in an impoverished family. They found a way. In other words, family was a priority to them. Kids were important to them. They saw the value in these relationships, but people don't. There was a kind of an informal survey questionnaire thing done. It was at a community college in California, and it was only 40 people they asked. And it was California, so it might it's not exactly a scientific survey, right? But it is indicative. I think it does carry a lot of the responses were similar, so it's probably fairly indicative of things. It's just Gen Z here, just a couple of years ago. This like last year before, and so this poll just asked, "Are you going to have kids? Do you want kids? And if not, why?" And that was the questions, and only it was like 42% definitely wanted kids. 47% didn't want kids at all. Not just like one. And like 10% were like, we don't know yet. And of the ones that did want kids, they didn't want a lot, but they also wanted to wait a while. It was like I want to wait till later in life. They didn't a couple of years. So they're like looking at their 30s, maybe having a kid, maybe two, like. And so then the question turned, that's already a problem, right? Because that's showing a trend. That's unless they all change their mind. That's showing something that's going to happen down the road. So then it turns to why. Some people were like, I don't like the world. Okay, again, this is maybe at least somewhat noble. I don't like the way things are going, and I don't want kids to have to suffer in this. Okay, that's at least somewhat visionary, but that was the most noble of them all. Quite a few listed climate change, and we go back to fear in this generation that they're instilled with. In fact, one of the respondents was actually going to the climate was so bad, she was going to actually have her tubes removed, not tied so that it would be a reversible decision, like removed. Like we're bringing like significant surgery into this fear. And one quote was very, I thought, representative of this generation, of the younger generations. And it was, listen, when I make money, I want to spend it on myself. I want to be able to enjoy my money. I don't want to spend it on this kid. And kids are expensive. So others were typical, I don't like the way it's going to affect my body. So much for maternal instinct. I don't like diapers and messes that they make, and having to do all that. So it was all over the range, but most of it was really surrounded either their fear or their importance of business and making money, and so they didn't see the relationships and the memories that kids bring. They see kids as obstacles to enjoyment of life, and they don't. They can't look past the diapers and see a lifelong relationship. And the temptation is for us to go, man, you stupid millennials, you stupid Gen Z. That's the temptation, and that's not what this is about. Because it's not really their fault. And I want to emphasize this when I say these things. It's not their fault. Who is it who has scared them to death about the environment? They didn't. They're just kids in class listening to baby boomers and Gen Xers who are their teachers and professors. Right? We've done this job. We're going to reap the benefits. We're going to be the ones retiring and not having someone to support us. And we're going to go, why is these people didn't have kids? Because they're scared to death that the world is going to end because, and the seas are going to rise and swallow us up. And who convinced them of this? We did. Who was it who de-emphasized the importance of maintaining a family? Well, it was baby boomers primarily, who wanted the free love and that whole nonsense in the 60s, and it was that generation that demanded and was provided with no fault divorce, and let's just have rampant divorce in the late 70s and 80s, early 80s, right? That was the baby boomers that did that. I was still in elementary school, so it wasn't my fault. I was a Gen Xer. What did I do? I'm a Gen Xer. What did I do? I was a part of the generation that grew up with this importance of being entrepreneurial. That's what my generation was. We were the generation that gave the world yuppies, young urban professionals, entrepreneurs, and let's amass wealth. We'll get to that next week. That's funny. And so they're carrying that value. Got to have success, got to have busyness. And that's more important than family. Gen Xers taught millennials and Gen Z that. That's our value. This is our problem, and we're going to reap the benefit. So if you want to see benefits, right, we've got to start doing things that promote relationship. We've got to encourage relationship. We seek what we see prioritized in other people. So, for those of us who still have, I'm a Gen X, I'm mid to late Gen X. So I still have family at home. It's important that people see that I prioritize family and talk about the memories. You start talking about it, and people go, "Wow, that I am missing that. That is seem like something. Maybe that is worth a dirty diaper." Yeah. Okay. And as people start to see things that are valuable, they might want to exemplify that, and that's how we can turn a generation around it before it's too late, before we have severe repercussions from this down the road. And that's a part of your thing that you can accomplish, even if your kids are older. You like how you deal with grandkids and stuff, and the excitement of grandkids. I heard someone's. I wish I could have skipped kids and gone straight to grandkids. It's like I thought of grandkids as being old. That's a part of my value. Oh my goodness, grandkids. Now I'm old, right? And to listen to people like, oh, I can't wait to be grandparents. It's like, oh, it's like, well, I guess so. Yeah, I guess I can be excited about that next phase, as my oldest is in college and it's a little bit of ways away. Right? Show them that the resulting family is more important than the process is the other thing. Right? They love the process of having kids at the most, the physical fun of it all, but they don't want the commitment. They don't want actual kids. Right? Get married, have kids, provide stability. If they see that and how it works, right? A lot of what they've seen has been the methodology of the baby boomers and Gen Xers who didn't really do things in the right order. And so they see family dysfunction. Well, they want no part of it. If we do things the right way, they might want a part of it. So stay together. That's another thing. Stay together. And people go, wow, it's possible. It's possible to succeed and have these relationships instead of having to have 75 Christmases with 8 pairs of in-laws. Right? Create family traditions. That's another thing. Okay, so we're together. What now? We're all on our devices at home. Why don't you get off the devices and create family traditions? Like eating meals together. These are easy things to do. Eat your meals together. Limit your screen time. Read together. Do something together. Whatever it is. Do family traditions that create bonds and create memories. We talked about creating memories. It's important that begins at a family level. Enjoy community. That's another thing. So we move out of the family unit and we enjoy community. Whether that be, benevolence and doing things outside, that's an important thing. The best community that I've ever seen is church community. And we have an absence of that, and it's an increasing absence in church community in our country. It's not a priority. But when they have that, they have this surrounding system that's good for emotional health and spiritual health and ultimately mental health. Model your life after those who have had good experiences. Look at the people who've had good experiences. Don't look at the worst of society. We look at the worst of society and say, oh, these people screwed things up. I don't want to be like them. Okay. And so we throw everything away, but why not look at the best of society and say, you know what, these people actually made it work. What did they do? And how can I model that? So try to encourage looking at the best that society has to offer, not avoiding the worst. And we can have a society that moves forward in a correct way and will be there for the next generation and two, so we don't have to do this introspective in another 50 or 60 years. My grandkids have to look back and say, well, what were my parents thinking? Because one generation affects the other. The things that we are prioritizing right now, it is just like we go back to that first thing where the World War I generation was doing things. We're going to affect things 5 generations from now. So let's start emphasizing the right things. Go out there and begin today. Do something. I know it's just one. You're just one person. You're just one family. Do things the right way, and one person might see it, and they might have one person see them, and that's how a generation changes. All right. Have a good day, and we'll see you next week.